Good morning. Thank you for joining with me this morning on this week's installment of Growing Together with Christ. We have been discussing the lives of the 12 apostles, and before I go any further, let me give you a great source that you can, if you want to go into deeper reading and deeper study of the lives of the 12 apostles, is the book 12 Ordinary Men by John MacArthur. It is the book that I am getting most of my material from to bring to my people on Sunday morning. So let me go ahead and begin by saying that to give credit to Pastor John MacArthur and his book of 12 Ordinary Men. It was I read it in the early 2000s. I believe it was around 2003, right after it came out, and I've read it several times. And it is a book that literally changed my viewpoint on many areas in my life. And so as I am bringing these things to our people on Sunday morning, and also bringing these things to you by means of these videos, I hope that they are a great blessing and an encouragement to you as well. I want to read to you just 2 verses of Scripture, and then I'll give you the main points that I gave this past Sunday morning. It's from Acts chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. Now about that time Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church, or to bring persecution to the church. And he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. So today we are going to discuss the Apostle James, and I have called him, and Pastor John MacArthur also called him the Apostle of Great Passion. The Apostle of Great Passion. We have discussed Simon Peter. We've discussed Andrew. Now we're going to discuss James, the brother of the Apostle John. He was the son of a very wealthy businessman by the name of Zebedee. We see that in Matthew 20, verse 20. He was from a very prominent and wealthy family. He was part of the inner circle of the apostles of Peter, Andrew, James, and John. He was given the nickname of the Sons of Thunder, and we're going to see that here in just a moment, why he was given that. And then he was a man of enormous zeal. So the first thing we want to look at with Andrew is he had a desire to call down fire from heaven. And we see that in Luke chapter 9, verses 51 through 56. Now let me kind of give you just a brief little background here of this story. It was getting time for Christ to be crucified. So he was going from the northern part of Israel down to Jerusalem. But here's a problem. There was a big area in between the northern part and the southern part called Samaria. Jews did not like going through Samaria. Now why is that? Because the Jews and the Samaritans hated one another. Because the Samaritans were a mixed race offspring of Israelites and Assyrians, and they had a mixed religion of worshiping Jehovah as well as the pagan gods from Assyria. As they went through, the town that they had stopped in Samaria did not allow Christ to stop there and to spend the night. This infuriated Andrew and John. So as a result of the Samaritans rejecting Christ, they were filled with outrage. And they made a reference to Elijah and said, just like Elijah called down fire from heaven, let us also call down fire from heaven to devour these people. But then Christ turned and rebuked them, and this is what he said in his rebuke. The Son of Man has come to save, not to destroy. And I'm paraphrasing there. So why the rebuke? Number one, their motives were wrong. It was all about them. They wanted to get credit for destroying the people of Samaria, so their prejudice and their bigotry was coming out. The ministry of Christ was different than the ministry of Elijah. For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. And then secondly, James and John had a desire to be first in Because of their social status, they had an attitude of superiority. They were selfish in their desire for honor and position. In other words, once again, it was all about them. But then Christ gave a question here in Matthew chapter 20. He said, are you willing to drink the drink that I'm going to drink and be baptized with the baptism that I'm going to be baptized with? And then they responded with, of course we can. But then in Acts chapter 12, as we just read, we see of how that prophecy was fulfilled, of how Christ said, indeed you will drink from the cup that I'm going to drink from and be baptized with the baptism that I'm going to be baptized with. And that is that he was martyred. Just like Christ was slain, James was slain. He had once desired power, instead he received servanthood. He had once desired a place of elevation in the kingdom, instead he received martyrdom. He did, in fact, receive a place of prominence. And what is that prominence? He was the first apostle to suffer a martyr's death. So let me give you a couple of applications real quick. Make your life all about God. Make it all about Jesus instead of all about yourself. At Christmas time, we use an acronym of JOY, of Jesus, others, and you. Jesus first, others second, yourself last. Make yourself a servant. Be a servant. Just like Christ was a servant, James was a servant, be a servant. Be a doulos, which is a slave. Well, God bless you. And I hope this is an encouragement to you. And we will see you next time on this installment of Growing Together with Christ.